Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2019 Sloan Sports Analytics Conference Competitive Advantage Talks presented by Ticketmaster. My name is Gerardo Guadiana. I'm a first-year MBA student at MIT Sloan, and it's my pleasure to be introducing our Competitive Advantage talk, Putting Fans in Control, the Future of the Sports Experience. Please join me in welcoming our speaker, Julie Maringer, President of Your Call, Inc.
Hey everybody. Show of hands if you know what Your Call or Your Call football. Okay, we got a few. Thank you. All right, so for those of you who don't know, Your Call Inc. is really just a holding company for a sports tech company that I'm running that is allowing for fans to have control of a live event. And we have used football as our platform for showcasing our tech. So that's kind of what I'm going to talk to you guys about today, and I'll leave plenty of time for questions and making sure that everybody gets a great understanding of our technology, how it's working, what we're learning, and what kind of barriers we're facing in terms of allowing us, fans, to impact a live event. A few disclaimers. I spent 20 years in the high-tech research world as a research analyst. I have zero coding skills. I've never coded a thing in my life. And also, I am a decent football fan. I wouldn't say I am diehard at all. But this concept of Your Call football came to me from an individual, George Colony. He's the CEO and chairman of Forrester Research. I worked for him for 20 years. I often tell people that in this life, you need two types of people. You need dreamers and doers. He was a dreamer. He had this idea of fans call the plays, 4 words on a 2-page memo. And he gave it to me 6 years ago and said, could you figure it out? So I'm the doer. I like to look at things. I love to figure out how you could make them work. And I love to learn and surround myself by people who have skills that I don't have. So the genesis of Your Call and Your Call football came from George Colony, again, the CEO and chairman of Forrester. He had a 2-page memo with the 4 words that fans call the plays. And the whole point was, could we put us, the fans, in control of a live event? So that's what I'm going to talk to you guys about today. So I often say to people that Your Call football, we are not a new football league. We are not the AAF. We are not the XFL. Is everyone familiar with them that are out in the news right now? That is not what we are. We're a sports tech company that has looked at 3 separate industries to figure out how to change the fan experience. So we took the industry of football, which today is passive, right? We all sit and we get frustrated whether we're at home on our flat screen or we're at a stadium, right? We just can watch it. We can watch the game. We can't do anything. We can't impact it. It's passive. We love fantasy. That industry is booming, right? It's a huge market. Everyone wants to get their picks in, but it's one way, right? Us, the fan, we get to go on and pick all these great players in whatever sports we want, but they don't know we're picking them, right? It's one way. It's us, the fan, but we don't really have a two-way experience with them. And the third thing we looked at when we started thinking about Your Call football was the technology in the gaming world, right? Huge, booming, esports booming. The next generation of fans are out there. They're playing Fortnite and League of Legends, and it's fantastic. They have a lot of control. It's in their hands, but it's not real. So this is the fan experience, regardless of what industry you're in, whether it's a live event or it's fantasy or it's esports. For us, the fan, it's passive, it's one way, and it's virtual. So that was the crux of George Colony's idea of fans call the plays. How can we merge these 3 industries and these 3 activities to give the fan a better experience? So, like any good research analyst, I spent many years in the high-tech research. You know, you have to think of a good 2x2. If you don't have a good 2x2, what do you have? So we started looking at the industry and the consumer landscape to figure out if we could put fans in control of a live event. So what we did is we said, okay, on the bottom axis here, fan control. What is our control as fans in different genres in terms of having none and having complete high control? And what about our experience of fans? Is our experience virtual? Is it fake? Or is it live? So we started to look around and assess the industry, and we said, okay, the top left-hand quadrant, this is traditional sports, entertainment, us as fans. I just got the pleasure of going to see the Patriots win again, another Super Bowl. Great experience. It's live, it's energetic, but I don't have any control. I don't have any control when you're frustrated that they can't move the ball and I can't impact anything, or they're calling a timeout in the first quarter when you want them to go, right? I just have to sit there and be like a passive fan and get frustrated. In this bottom quadrant, right, you have all this plethora of original content in traditional linear and digital that's out there, right? So us as fans, we have no control over that. It's not real, but boy, are we consuming it. I'm sure like you, like me, all of you probably have something on your phone that has a list of Netflix shows that you want to be watching that people are recommending to you, or podcasts that you should be watching, right? Tons of activity there for us as fans, but it's not real. We can't impact it. And then in this bottom quadrant here, obviously we have this huge esports industry and the gaming industry, right? There's lots of stuff happening down there. Us as fans, we can control a lot of it. We can make it interactive, but it's not real. Now, some of you may say, like, but there are some things happening. And yes, there are, right? Over the last 10 years, we've seen this growth of like how we can get fans to be more engaged in more participatory in events, right? Whether it's the Pro Bowl offering us the ability to vote on the website about what players we want there, or Dancing with the Stars allowing you to tweet in who you want, or The Voice had the save who you want. DraftKings and Twitch, everybody's trying to figure out, everybody knows that we need to let us as fans be more engaged. But the question we started looking at for Your Call Football is like, what about that top, the holy grail of the 2x2, right? The top right-hand quadrant. Is there an industry up there? What is the future of allowing fans, us, to impact a live event and have the ultimate control? And that's what we started to do 6 years ago. So obviously we looked at this and we said, wow, the bottom quadrant there, and again, disclaimer, I wrote down where we've done our research and gotten our numbers. There are thousands of numbers out there for each of these quadrants. The bottom line is they're big and getting bigger. But depending on your source or what you look at, the bottom right with gaming and esports, 1.6 billion and growing. Original content, Netflix, that industry, almost well over 100 billion. The live sporting event, no one needs to tell you how large that industry is. And so we started to say to ourselves, okay, so those are big, those quadrants are big. We don't know how big the top right-hand quadrant is yet. It's a big question mark. So then we started to say, what about the consumers? How big are the consumers? What's kind of the overarching demographic of the consumers in these quadrants to help us get a sense, is there something here? So again, depending on the sources that you cite or look at, but we looked at these quadrants by the demographic of them, right? So no big secret here. This can be a little bit of tell me something I don't know. 62% of millennials are esports fans, right? So they're spending a lot of their time down in that quadrant. If any of you live with any of them, I'm sure you do, I do, right? Or any of you are them, you know what I'm talking about. In terms of the original content world, another huge thing down here, 72% of millennials, 73% of the Gen X's are Netflix subscribers, right? This down here is booming, because you have the next generation who are not cable subscribers, right? They're cord cutters, they're streaming. Cable, they're not paying a cable bill, right? They're on Netflix or Hulu. And not surprising, in this top left-hand quadrant, only 44% of Gen Z, of what they're calling the 13 to 21, are traditional sports fans. So this was an eye-opener, and anyone who's in any of those businesses in the top left-hand quadrant, you know that your demographic is aging, right? You know that the age of the fans who are going to a golf event or an NFL event, they're aging out. It's not a surprise. It's hard to get them. They're all kind of down below the line there. So our question was, will the next generation fan migrate from esports and endless content to try to control a live event? Your call and Your Call Football was about, there's an opportunity there. The technology is moving there. Can we get the audience and the fans and the next generation of fans, can we give them something that is really different? It's really not fan engagement or participatory, but fan control, right? This next generation, they don't care about an app that tells you like where the stadium parking lot looks like, right? Or what, if there's a line for the concessions, right? They're down here impacting, playing video games. They are controlling, they're watching it and streaming it when they want, how they want it, right? So our theory was we want to offer them something that will really change the way the future of the fan interacts with a live event. So how did this come about? We spent a lot of time doing this. We researched, we looked at legal, technological, operational probabilities for like 2 years. We identified barriers to entry. There is a lot of barriers to entry. I'm going to talk about a main one today, which is latency and delay of a live event to when it hits us as consumers. We also did enough testing that we were able to figure out that it could work. We now have 4 patents on the technology. I'm going to explain it to you and how it works. And we've tested our hypothesis, and we have determined that that top right-hand quadrant, you can make that work technologically and from a fan control perspective. So right now, actually, we had our first game. We have 2 football teams. They're coached by former Steelers running back Merrill Hodge and Steelers and Bengals Solomon Wilcox. We have a centralized organization. We're based down in Florida in Jacksonville. We run our games at the Jaguars indoor flex field because it is state-of-the-art technologically facility. So we're doing this live right now. We had our first live game, live streamed it in our app on YouTube and Barstool this past Monday night at 8 p.m. So we're doing this. This isn't like theory, it works. We did it last spring. This is our second series of games that we're doing. So we basically have merged these 3 industries, what I started with, and now we're offering an interactive, 2-way, impactful experience for fans. So let me explain how it works, because some of you are probably like, I don't get it. Is this a video game? What do you mean you have real players? So we are a single entity company, and I have football, broadcast, and technology all integrated together. So I have 2 rostered football teams with former NFL coaches. We bring them together for 7 weeks. We do 2 weeks of kind of a training camp, all traditional football, access to footage and their plays, and then we run 4 games. And our business model is we don't really need a lot of fans at our on location. Our fans are everywhere, no matter where, wherever they want to be. How does it work? Fairly simple. We have digitized our coaches' call sheets. So what they do is our coaches, last year we had Mike Sherman, former Green Bay Packer. He's now up coaching at the CFL. He was instrumental in helping us get this off the ground. So our coaches have obviously the traditional paper call sheet. You see them on the sidelines covering their mouth. But their offensive coordinators, we've digitized their call sheet into an iPad in our back-end system. And what they do is for every situation, they have pre-packaged a bundle of their 3 best plays. So for 1st and 10, they may have 15 bundles of their 3 best 1st and 10 plays. So the ball's whistled, 1st and 10 on the 25. ref whistles it dead. They've already planned what they want to do. They have about 3 to 7 seconds, and the offensive coordinator says, oh, I want bundle 3, because bundle 3 has the 2 passes and the runs that I like for 1st and 10 on the 25. They hit a button. Literally, it goes up to Amazon, comes down to your phone. You've downloaded the app. It's in the App Store. It's in Google Play. You've downloaded the app. You, the fan, have 10 seconds to pick the play that you want to see them run on the field. So this is exactly what it looks like. It's live streamed in the app, so you see everything that's happening, 0 latency, and 3 plays come up. You have 10 seconds. You pick the play you want, goes back up to Amazon, tallies all the votes back down to the iPad for the head coach, and the majority voted play is the one that they do communication into the quarterback that they execute on the field. And you're watching this, it's all transparent to you, the fan. You see it all happening. This entire cycle takes about 17 seconds. Plays run on the field. If you voted with the majority and the play does well, we score you in real time. So now I'm showing you how we've taken football, but we're adding kind of competition and gaming. So in real time, we're giving you a score. If they got 6 yards, we're going to give you 0.1 a yard, just like in fantasy, and we're going to score you in real time. If you didn't vote with the majority, you want the defense to stuff them, and we're going to give you against the grain points. So second way to earn points. Third way to earn points is when that play comes back to the coach on their iPad, they've had, like any NFL, they're all former NFL coaches, they already know which play they wanted you to pick, but they got to let you pick. It's their 3 best plays, but they had one that they wanted. So when that comes back to their iPad, they actually hit what they call the coach pick, the one that they wanted the fans to pick. It may not have been the majority vote, but if you voted, you've played along, you understand how the coach thinks. If you thought like the coach, we're going to give you coach pick bonus points if you voted with the coach, whether or not it was the majority or not. So 3 ways we're scoring you, all on the back end. You voted with the majority, it does well, you get points. You voted not with the majority, the defense stuffs them, we give you points. You thought like a coach, you understand the coach's thinking, and you got the same as a coach pick, we're giving you points. This all happens in real time. And oh, by the way, during the game, prior to the game, us fans can set up competitions. So you can set up a head-to-head. Gerardo and I could set up a head-to-head in advance of this Monday night's game to see who's a better play caller, who gets more points. We could set up a league. Anyone in here? We could set up a league, just like in fantasy. So you're voting in real time. You're getting scored in real time. And we are showing you on the leaderboard with everybody or in your competitions, one-to-one head-to-heads or group leagues, exactly where you stand as a play caller. You, the fan, are in ultimate control throughout this entire process. And all of this is running on Amazon Web Services. And all of the back-end technology for this is 4 people sitting in a room with a laptop controlling it for me. That's it. That's as easy as it is. So that all sounds great. It's really fun. I am managing football teams, and I'm doing this cool technology and getting fans engaged. But as you are probably well aware, it is not without major, major issues. And the biggest challenge we have, and the one I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about before we wrap up, is latency in delay. So most of you here probably have never heard of Your Call Football. We had a couple of hands go up in the beginning. I am not on CBS Sportsnet. I'm not on the NFL Network. I'm not on Fox. And the major reason is because of latency, of delay. So when we first crafted this and we went out and started talking to folks about it, all of those networks I had meetings with, and all of them thought this was the coolest thing they ever said. We're in. But we want in. We want in. We'll put your games on. We'll help promote it. We'll get the fans going. We'll do it. So I'm like, this is great. I just won the lottery. CBS Sports is like, we're in this. I met with great people there. So fast forward to about 3 months later, all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God. I thought linear latency was just like the Janet Jackson 7-second delay. No. It is 18, 19, 20. I couldn't do it, right? Because I need to connect my stadium, where we're at the Jaguars, with my production truck to my back-end software to you, the fan. I need to bring all those together, right? And I need to do that without any delay, right? Because when Coach Sherman picks his player, I already told you 7 seconds, 2 seconds to Amazon, 10 seconds for you, the fan, to pick. So by the time the play runs on the field, if you were watching me on CBS Sports, you'd have a terrible experience because you wouldn't be in sync with what's happening at that live stadium. The delay between, I'm going back for a minute, but the delay between that stadium and when it gets to your phone across most all linear and digital properties right now is way too long for my play cycle. I have to repeat this over and over again. We do a 2-hour live stream. We get off about 95 to 100 offensive plays. And I couldn't do it on CBS Sports, right? I couldn't do it because by the time the ball gets whistled in a traditional world, it goes up to like a broadcast truck, goes up to a satellite, goes to you whether you are a dish consumer, a cable consumer, or the internet. All of those hops add up. And they all add up to the tune of, look at these numbers down here. So we've tested this over and over again. Whether you're on DirecTV, Xfinity, Verizon, any type of streaming, all those average delays from someone at a physical location, a live event, to anywhere else is way too long. That's why we're not on any of those channels. That's why we're at Barstool Sports and our website, because Barstool and our website uses this technology from a small little company in Chicago called Phoenix. Look them up if you haven't seen them. They have 0 latency. You cannot see down the bottom, but their maximum latency is 842 milliseconds. It is 0 latency from a live event to you, the fan, experience it. It's phenomenal. No issues with it whatsoever. And this is what we are using while we try to wait for like the rest of the industry to catch up, because most company, ESPN Watch, they're like 1 minute 30 seconds, right? The delay we can't tolerate. And I would hypothesize to say that those next generation fans don't tolerate it either, right? So until we start getting everybody kind of into a 0 latency mode, that's a big barrier for me right now in my business. So that's the biggest hurdle we're overcoming right now. But to be honest, given all the things we've done, integrating live football with the production, with the technology, we figured out a solution and we've had some great success. So we had our first series of fan competitions with live quality football last spring in Florida. From a football perspective, I can show you the numbers here, but we had 4 Super Bowl rings. Most of our rostered players are D1 graduates who have been on a roster, been at a camp, they're looking for another shot. So the football is decent, they all want another shot, they want to get some film, they want to get picked up again, they want to play ball. From a technology perspective, we had close to 10,000 voters and almost 300,000 votes processed. So I was pretty pleased with that, because not only are we an unknown brand, doing something completely different that no one's tried to do before. We got our message out there. We used Barstool as our TV channel, and we actually had about 40,000 viewers on our TV channel there via Barstool and our website, in about a 45-minute average viewing time, which we were also really thrilled about, because anyone who is a millennial or knows a millennial, to get their attention, because that was our demographic for that amount of time, was pretty cool for us. And then finally, from an engagement perspective, we were really happy that we saw the engagement of like competition and head-to-heads grew from game to game to game. We only did 3 games last year, but it grew over time, which we were really happy about. So for me, I've been on this train for about 6 years now. It has been a fascinating ride, and what I wanted to kind of leave you all with today was that creating a live event with fan control, that top right-hand quadrant, it is a challenge, but it works. That top right-hand quadrant is completely open territory. Right? Nobody has moved themselves up there yet, and it is open territory if we as leaders in the sports tech world want to get that next generation to really care about a live event and not just sit behind a screen and watch something that's virtual and not real. Getting fans engaged is tough. Tough, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we're competing for eyeballs, we're competing for people's time. But if you really understand them and what they want, right, they want to compete. There's a reason why esports is booming and fantasy is booming, right? They want to compete, they want to see how they do. The next generation is the me generation, right? They all want their stories on Snapchat and Instagram, and I'm trying to give them that. I'm trying to make this about them, the fan. Who is the best play caller out there, right? And by giving them head-to-head competitions, giving them zero latency, giving them the app streamed in their phone, I'm trying to go where they already are and give them what they need. Doesn't mean it's easy, but that's what we're trying to do. And then obviously staying on top of this technology and their needs. I mean, they're finicky, they're changing all the time. You know, I can walk in my house on any given day and I feel like there's the TV's on, there's 2 laptops, phones, like the amount that they're intaking my own Gen Zs and millennials is mind-blowing, but doesn't faze them. Doesn't faze them. And so we need to get there. We need to offer them something to get them engaged and keep them engaged going forward. So that's a very quick fire hose on Your Call Football, who we are, and I think we're going to open it to some questions. We are just, again, to remind everybody, we are running our games right now at the Jacksonville Jaguars Indoor Flex Field. We're Monday nights, 8 p.m. You can download the app. You can live stream it in the app. You can watch it on Barstool and on our website as well. So with that, I'll take some questions. Yeah.
Two questions. Last week I heard about it on a local CBS Sports talk show in South Carolina. And so, and it was short, and it, sounded interesting. So I went to look for it and I couldn't find it. So I don't know how you're marketing. And it was interesting because when it was delivered on the radio, it seemed like connections with AAF and the new leagues that are coming, right? And so the question is, what's your marketing strategy? And second, how are you planning for the leagues that are coming?
Right. So our marketing strategy, I don't have the coffers that Charlie Ebersol has at the AAF, although I think those coffers are a little dwindling, as we've all read in the news. But so because it's an event-driven app, we are literally marketing it 48 to 72 hours before the games. So we're doing lots of push on, and we're going to where our audience is. So all of our marketing is homepage takeovers, Instagram influencers, Snapchat influencers, that literally starts today from Monday. We're doing a little bit on Yahoo and traditional media, but we're going to where our audience is and for now. That's kind of number one. Last year, we did a little different traditional marketing for the first series, and it helped us about 2 weeks before our first game. We had hundreds of downloads of our app. We had a ton, but then no one showed up on game day. So we're also switching tailoring our marketing to kind of what we are, which is event. Your second question about the AAF or the XFL. So we are not a new league. We're not running. I am friendly with the XFL and Oliver Luck for sure. Our business model is to run a series once a year for product enhancements and the fan enhancements, but then license our technology to other sports properties. So, for example, you could imagine college spring games. They want to, some of them are huge marketing events. They want to engage their alumni base wherever they are. You could imagine there's been talks in the media about the Pro Bowl using our technology. And the way we would license now with those properties who are on linear, who are on TV, is that they would utilize our technology during timeouts, commercial injuries, and we would do like a back from break. So every time they went to a commercial break, they could push a play out, go to the fan and come back, and there wouldn't be any issue with the technology syncing up with the live experience. Yeah?
I have a couple questions about sort of product iterations you guys are considering. It seems from right now you can just select basically a play for the offense, right? So in a case where you're licensing out to a team, you don't necessarily want to be calling offensive plays for the other team, especially if you have some sort of team loyalty. Is it only ever just going to be play calling? Is it player substitutions? Are there other aspects of this that a user could be just involved for their team's offense, defense, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so a couple things. We originally, and again, as we license it, we would tailor it to what the licensee wants, but originally we had you pick a team, and you did offense and defense, and the feedback was loud and clear. Picking defense is awful. It's boring, and people want to rack up as much points as they want, so they want to call all offensive plays. That's how we got to that but from a licensing perspective, people could do what they want. In terms of iterations, the major iterations are roster, player personnel, picking and voting on that, as well as we have leagues, we have virtual currency built into our leagues. We have not gone down the kind of gambling or betting route. It is ripe with a ton of cost to do that correctly. And so we will definitely have wagering in the future going into that as well. Yeah?
Can you just talk a little bit about some of the other sports that you've contemplated and kind of what some obvious latency issues in some?
Sure. So the question was other sports, like what other sports we looked at. So as you can imagine, there are a bunch of sports that are like off the plate immediately because they're too fast. Basketball, soccer, hockey, right? It'd be hard to control it. The ones that we have product development in place for right now are baseball and golf, which are also interesting when you think about their audience and their fan. Golf's audience is aging. They're trying to get the next generation with maybe the top golf people involved. And with baseball, I mean, America's pastime, but it's long, and the next generation's not there either. So those are the two future product enhancements we have for a licensing perspective. Yeah?
Can you talk about a little bit about what you've learned about your participants in terms of the makeup of being loyal, casual, gamers, fantasy players? Is it a true mix, or do you see more demographics pop than others?
We started off, we thought it'd be like 50-50 gamers to fantasy, and it is definitely more heavily towards fantasy. But the little niche of like Madden gamers have loved it. So that is for sure. So we have avid casual fans that we're looking at right now, and it's probably like 70-30 fantasy to kind of gamer. Yeah?
A large portion of fantasy football fans follow for the star power. Are you a little afraid that the fact that the B or C grade athletes in your league aren't going to draw as much attention?
Yes and no. If we were going to be like an AAF or an XFL, then I would say to you yes. But that was never the design of the product. The design of the product was, how do we let the fans be the star instead of the player? And that has kind of paid off already because they're out there like excited that they got great play calling and they're scoring on the leaderboard. By licensing the technology, though, that's where we do think that will come into play. Like if you are a school, if you're, Mike Sherman used to coach at Texas A&M, and Texas A&M, their spring game is a big marketing event. If they wanted to get the alumni involved with like their players or their future stars, that would be something that I'm sure they would promote themselves. So it would play well in that vein. Yeah. Definitely. So for anyone who's a Netflix junkie, they've had that show where they're letting fans control the ending. So we have probably 2 entertainment plays that we've started to design, and we're using our network of investor contacts that we have to start looking at that as well. A little further down the line. All right, so Monday night at 8 p.m., am I going to get some people downloaded the app live streaming it? SSAC. Yeah, give it, listen, and my email's here. You all sat here and listened. If you participate, please tag me or email me. I would love your feedback. I didn't get to where I am today as a doer of others' ideas by learning and listening and iterating, so I am 100% open to that. So please download the app. Barstool, Big Cat, and PFT are playing their kind of our like TV commentators on Monday night, and I would love to hear from you guys. So thank you. You've been a great audience. Thank you.